Hello YouTube pipe community, OTC Piper back again with a kind of a continuation on my self-reliance video that I put out before while enjoying a pipe this evening. Going simple with some lane 1Q, one of my estate pipes. If you'll give me a second, my matches fell down on the ground here. Get those picked up. Well, I tell you, lane 1Q just never disappoints. Now, in the earlier video, I kind of showed more or less my summertime, hotter weather EDC that I carry with me. I usually travel a little bit lighter, pack a little bit lighter in the summertime because the need for heat, fire, that kind of thing isn't as prevalent in the summertime. Yes, you may need that for cooking or preparing any kind of meat or anything like that. But as far as sheltering from the cold is not really as big of a deal. It's a lot easier to cool yourself than it is to heat yourself in some extreme cold weather. So I usually go to a bigger bag to carry a few extra goodies. And like I said, most of the time, when you're planning an EDC bag or something like that, it's not really necessarily something intended for a long-term event. Should that happen, there are some circumstances that are not far from the realm of possibility that if they were to occur, life would be dramatically changed for us. But again, I think a lot of people look at those things and they neglect some of the more temporary things that you may find yourself in. That's not necessarily SHTF or something like that, but a dire situation, some unfortunate circumstance that brings you to need something critically. I try to keep both in mind. In these things, even my the sling bag that I had earlier in my earlier video, may not be necessarily something I take everywhere with me, like say if I go into a restaurant to eat or go to the store or something like that. But it's in my vehicle, easy to grab and go. Another thing that reminds me of that is having it in your vehicle ready to go. Some people may call it a bailout bag. It's not really necessarily a bailout bag for me because I keep a lot of the things that I use on a regular basis. Keep a notebook, some pens and pencils, and my little pocket Bible, things like that. You can throw a laptop in, like the bag that I'm about to show you here. I never really pack them out to capacity because in some critical event, the accumulation of other resources is something that you're definitely going to want to consider. If you're on foot, and you happen upon other kind of resources, it could be anything from cordage to empty containers or whatever. You just want to grab it whatever you can. It's just going to keep your own resources from being depleted so quickly. And there are a couple of items that I neglected to show because they were hiding in another pocket or zipper pouch, which is my binoculars. I keep a set of binoculars with me, hot weather, cold weather. They'll always come in. I got to go back and look at my video. Can't remember if I talked about gloves or not, but gloves are something that's critical, and those are something that you can find a need for anytime. You know, say you need to carry something that may not, have a smooth surface, or find yourself having to work on something and not having a pair of gloves could make that a little bit more difficult. So getting into cold weather, I keep some extra things. I probably pack a little bit heavier with some more redundancies, just for the fact that the cold weather can often create more harsher climates, in the need to shelter yourself from that, because like they talk about the rules of three. There's a lot of ways, to look at it. You got like your 3 C's, which is cutting, cordage, and containment. When I talk about the 3 C's, it's when I talk about the rules of three, a lot of people know it is 3 weeks without food. You can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water. 3 hours without shelter from the elements, and 3 seconds without hope. And the hope, that's a critical thing that can really get you. That's why you can't, in a critical situation, should something significant find us, you've got to maintain a good frame of mind, because your mind can defeat you quicker than the elements can. So getting on with everything, and I'm gonna pack everything up after the video just to save some time. But I got my gloves here. Usually throw in some extra cordage. This is a big bundle of it's like 550, but I think they call it 750. It's a stouter cordage to hold a little bit more weight. So I think I showed you some of the emergency blankets. I have another larger emergency blanket that I carry. And a lot of times in an extreme situation, and I've even done this in the military, when I had when I had a need, because believe it or not, in Iraq it gets pretty cold in the wintertime. I wasn't expecting that. But a lot of times you can take these and then fold them and stuff them inside just to keep your core warm. If you're not properly outfitted for the climate. And that's another thing when it comes to preparedness, is your constant frame of mind. Like you take, for example, say, well, I just need to run out to the store. It's 30 degrees out. I'm just going to be in my truck with my heater going, or my vehicle with my heater going. I'm going to run in or run to the drive-thru or whatever. So I'm just going to go in my, in my shorts and my tank top and my flip-flops. And then what happens then? If your car breaks down or something like that, then you have freezing temperatures, shorts, tank top, and flip-flops. Excuse me. And so you kind of find yourself in a bind there. So, normally I'll always dress for the weather regardless. So I always have in harsh climate, in cold weather, I always have a coat. I always keep one in my vehicle just in case. So those are some of the things you can do to kind of combat these problems. But at any rate, you can wrap up in these, or you can stuff them, into, make another layer. And this, basically reflects, this Mylar reflects body heat and helps you to retain core temperature. So there's that. I don't know if I showed it on the other one. This is another one of the things that I had. It's just a little small little folding pocket saw. It could also work as a bone saw, but you know, it's you know, for limbs and whatnot. I used to carry a small little hatchet, and I quit doing that because it added a lot of weight, and you're not necessarily trying to fell trees or anything like that. If you're gathering, you know, tinder or something for fire, you know, a pocket saw, and I have another one. I'll include a little bit larger one, and these are all relatively inexpensive. You know, probably $7 for the larger one. I think you know, you can get something like this at Walmart for $5, and it'll do the job. But you know, you're not really necessarily trying to cut down big old trees. You know, that takes a lot of your body's resources, and you know, conservation is key in a situation like that. So you know, take what you know. These things will cut you plenty enough lumber to keep a fire going if you need that to happen. So I showed you that pocket spade. There's another thing. Even though I talked about not really buying into all the orange things, I picked up one of these, and this is another Walmart deal. There's a compass on it, but don't trust in this compass, because I know I can tell you right now, mine does not work. Not at all. But it's a good dry box, so I throw a little box of matches, and you see that little cardboard things. I just ripped off the ends where you strike it, so you have a good striking surface. Those small little matches are usually strike-on box. So I have something like that, and it does have a whistle in the event that you want to be found. And when I say we want to be found, I'm thinking there could be situations arise where you're trying to stay as concealed as possible to remain safe. You know, if you don't know, you know, who may be out and about. And I say this, even, you know, say have a vehicle bag, something like this. You know, like I said, I don't necessarily take into every establishment I walk into, but it's available. And it's good to have something like this at least in your vehicle, because just throw out a scenario like an EMP, which is a very real possibility in a number of ways. You can find yourself in gridlock somewhere. Say if you commute to a large city for work or something like that. And the last place you really want to be is gridlock. You want to get away from that kind of thing, because you know, people can turn savage real quick. You know, in a breakdown situation like that. So just something to think about. I know that some people have a lot invested in their vehicles. I'm here to tell you, if an EMP hits, it's useless to you. It's no longer going to work, and so many people would get themselves in a pretty bad situation because they don't want to leave their vehicle behind. I'm here to say, if that were to happen to me, I'd want to grab my bag and get away from the panic and the pandemonium. So anyways, moving along. And I have about a standard size backpack. I'll show you. Let me move this stuff away. I'll show you the one that I'm moving to. It's just like this, standard size, you know, school backpack. It's not too, you know, not too big. You know, I used to carry a much larger one. And I'm here to say, when I said before that the greatest thing you can stockpile is knowledge, it definitely goes into you can definitely see it in your gear, because the more I've learned, the less I really need to carry, because I've found duplicate purposes for different items as I've learned to use them accordingly. So let me set this stuff back on the bag, get it out of my way. This is another thing I picked up, and I forget where. I just got a little belt loop thing. It's just a little field dressing kit. You know, if you ever find yourself in need of taking some game animal or something like that, and many other things too, it's got a, you know, a little small little skinning knife. Keeps a pretty good edge. And this is just another little folder. It's not really a lot. It has a little gutting hook. You know, it's a cheap blade, but you know, it is another knife to have. So I'll keep that in there. And in this top pouch, it's got a little T-handle with a. It's meant to be a bone saw, but it will also operate as another limb saw if you have the need of that. Bone saw might be really outside of what you would really need, because when you're talking about, you know, large animals like deer or something like that, you know, unless you have a large group with you, you know, you're really not going to need to be thinking of something like that, because you know, that's going to take a lot to prepare and to process, and you waste a lot of the meat anyways. You know, your small game, squirrels and rabbits, that kind of thing, you may not need the bone saw for, but it's there if you do need it. I know in this area, if I needed something real quick that I'm not really necessarily worried about wasting, it's like feral hog. You can, you know, get you some pork, you know, really quick, just about in any area of Texas, and I'm sure it's that way among all of the world. Really, they've kind of spread out everywhere. But anyways, this gets me laughed at sometimes, but I don't care. I keep a little fold-up wrist rocket. It doesn't take a lot of space. If you need small game, this is definitely a way to do it. Now, I have put these Magnum bands on here. These are 40-pound draw weight bands, and they'll launch a rock super fast. And those, you know, those I know that do carry something like this for the same purpose, I often carry a bunch of extra bands. I think I have another set of bands. I'm not really worried too much about it, because this is just one of my methods. As I get further in my outdoorsy season, I want to do, you know, kind of get outside of the walls here and get out in some of the places that I like to go and hike and stuff like that, and do like kind of like a quick self bow. Those are, you know, super easy to make. You know, they may not last a lifetime, but if you're, you know, in the woods and you need food real quick, that there is a way to do that. And I've had a lot of fun getting out and trying different things with that. The thing is getting out and trying these things, planning for certain circumstances. You know, a few, you know, friends of mine over the years that have, you know, been into preparedness, get out sometimes and we'll just try different methods of sheltering, game acquisition, things like that. But this, basically, what I like about something like the slingshot is you don't really run out of ammo until the world runs out of rocks. You know, so you've got a good, inexhaustible supply of ammo, but you can buy the ball bearing type of ammo. I just keep it in this little empty aspirin bottle. And these are the 1/4 inch balls. That's a pretty stout ball. And I have some 1/8 inch balls. They're tiny. And maybe for these 40-pound bands, they might be a little bit light, but they'll also do. You can kind of see them. They look like BBs, but they're considerably larger. But you know, you can use these, and if you ever do run out of these, you can, you know, use small pebbles and stones and things like that. I've actually used, you know, the carefully selected rocks actually do work pretty good. You know, they veer a little bit at long distances, but you're really not looking at long distances anyways. We're looking at pretty short distances on rabbits and squirrels and things like that. And as I've studied a lot of primitive methods as a, you know, kind of a archaeology history buff, I've always been fascinated in more primitive methods, because you're talking about a time when they had nothing but natural resources to use. So I try to look for ways that I can use natural resources to do a lot of these things. So if you can learn to do that, then you know you're not really bound to equipment, you know, like I'm showing you here. And I still carry this around because it's just good to have. But learning to use natural resources for survival to me is very worthwhile. You know, I have done some, you know, stuff with self bows and things like that, and flint napping. One of the things, I like to get a good supply of flint again and do a video on flint napping, because that's one I've been doing for years now, and I love doing it. It's just so fun to do. You know, I've got several points made over here, and I may even show them to you. You know, in fact, I'm going to pause the video real quick and I'm going to go get some. Okay, I'm back. I'm just going to try to pick from a few of these points like this here. And this is flint that I pick up from like rock companies and landscaping companies. They have, sometimes they'll have you know, the big piles of rock that, you know, they usually scoop up big bucketfuls in a front end loader for landscaping and everything. They'll often let you go pick, you know, 5-gallon buckets worth of, you know, hand selected stone. And I usually do that, and they weigh, it's like 15-something cents a pound. For, you know, $10 I can get a whole 5-gallon bucket load full of flint that's mixed in with some other things. And you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of flint. Here's another one that I've got here. And other things that I found, there's a lot of people, and some of you watching may have seen some of the beer bottle points where they bust out the bottom of a beer bottle and make one. And I've done that here. This has got some pretty wide things on it. Here's another beer bottle point. And that's kind of fun to do. You can find those everywhere. That's another thing where if you're in a situation like that, you can go along and find things that will help you along the way. That's pretty much the gist of it. A buddy of mine knew that I was into flint napping, and he gave me a bunch of TV glass, where he busted out one of those old large, you know, flat screens that had real thick glass on it, and got some good points out of that. And they're kind of interesting. It's just clear. You don't see a lot of that. But anyways, that's enough of that. I can go through here and show you so many of them. But over the years, hope y'all heard me okay. I realized I didn't reclip my mic. Over the years, I've just been napping at flint and trying different things, and I've got a big collection of them here. I've got a big collection in the house that I've actually found while just hiking and everything like that, from varying eras. Maybe I'll do a video on those one of these days. But anyways, before we get too far into this video, you know, too far into time and all that, I'll continue with what I've got. Since fire is going to be a little bit more critical, I keep a little small little bag here full of some things that may help along the way. If things are a little damp and you need some help getting a fire started, you can get these little tumbleweed things. It's, you know, usually over there where you find the fire starters and everything, just bundles of straw that are coated in wax. They burn pretty well. And another thing I've done is collected up, you know, not collected up, but made some up, cotton balls that are soaked in Vaseline. You pull one of these out, and one cotton ball will probably burn for about 15 minutes or so, and that's really a good fire starter. And of course, in this I keep a little metal bowl if you ever need to, you know, boil water for drinking purposes or whatever, or if you're, you know, just need to make something, you know, cook something, you know, in it, you'll have it. And I just keep a little bottle crushed here so that when it cools, I can contain it in this little bottle. And that really, I'm showing you a lot of stuff, and it seems like I'm going to have this big massive pack, but really it's not. You pack it away, and I still have room for anything else I may need, you know, other notebooks, laptops, things like that. I still got plenty of room for that. And I still do keep my what I call my EDC pouch, a couple of pipes and a couple of blends ready to go, because in an SHTF situation, pipe is a good thing to have. So that's that. And you know, I know in the comments from the other ones, there are some that, you know, carry firearms, and there's some that don't. In either way, that's, you know, to each their own on that. I'll always say that for the longest time now, I've gone strictly, you know, in my hunting and everything, I've gone strictly to archery hunting because it just got to be too easy to gun hunt. So, you know, now I look at firearms as a defensive tool. You know, as, you know, one of the good guys, I would never, you know, go on the offensive to accost anybody. You know, you're going to have a lot of people in a potential long-term, you know, kind of a grid down situation that may do that. And speaking of like a, you know, something that's keeping your vehicle just to grab and get out of Dodge. For those that do carry firearms and everything, I already showed you I carry a Glock as my personal carry. But there's another one many of you may have already heard of. It's a Kel-Tec product. I'm not a big fan of Kel-Tec pistols, but they did a good job on this one, which is the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. I don't know if anyone's ever seen anything like that. It takes the same mag my Glock takes. So it comes with a flush fit mag. And it folds up nice and neat. Stuff really fits really nice in a bag, and you pop it out and you have a carbine if you ever needed a long gun. You know, again, you're not looking to go on the offensive. You're looking for strictly defensive methods. And you know, it's not really any good to hunt with because you're letting kind of, you know, everyone around you know where you are and what you have. So you know, so I keep it for that. And now I don't keep this in my bag all the time because if I am going somewhere, I don't want to set my bag down and then, you know, forget it. I mean, there's already enough in there that I don't want to lose. Also, I definitely don't want a gun to walk off with it or anything like that. But this is good because I know in the state of Texas, you can carry this around without having a concealed handgun license because it qualifies as a long gun. And in the state of Texas, you can carry a long gun openly with no legal issue. So just another cool little thing that I found. And you know, unlike some of the other Kel-Tec pistols I've had that I've been dissatisfied with, this functions flawlessly. They did a recall on a few of them. This one doesn't. This one I've ran the serial number with Kel-Tec, and this is not in the recall. It's just good. It's got a little screw cap. You know, if you wanted to can it. I'm not really into cans really, but you know, it's a cool little product. I like to have fun going out shooting it. So, so this is in addition to the other things that I moved over to my bag. But you know, hope you don't think I'm too nuts. I know I get a lot of criticism from some people that I'm close to, but they're the ones that are always asking me, "Hey, I need this. Do you happen to have that?" And I usually do. And I usually get real snarky with them about it when I do provide it for them. But that's just the way it goes. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and sign off with that one. Thank y'all for sticking with me. I didn't mean for this to be a 30-minute video, but I hope it's been entertaining. So I'll just sign off with that. Hope everybody is well. Just wish you all the best. Good times and a warm pipe.